Morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is time for another pre-market pulse scan with yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave price trigger reports, along with our over-the-top weekly webinars done with none other but the infamous Frank himself, head of our educational department. And shout out to Jen, who is the executive. And we just be doing it big over here, man. I hope you guys are ready because we have a lot to discuss. Yeah, we got to get into some things. Didn't want to have to do it. I like chilling, man. I like to be laid back. I like to just, relax, have fun, not stress, not worry about stuff. But every time I just want to chill, lean back in my lazy boy, apply the heat packs to my back and knees and sometimes neck, you know, sitting next to my lovely wife, you know, grabbing the sticks, you know, playing with my PS4 Pro, and just chilling. But nah, can't do that. You want to know why I can't do that? I can't do that for the same reason you can't do that. Because when we're chilling, the people that we elected into office to represent us in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., aka the swamp, they are planning, plotting, and scheming and moving funny while we chilling. Yep, they're moving like sidewinders, like kaboom vipers, like spider monkeys. They are moving funny, planning and plotting and scheming our destruction. What do I mean by our destruction? I mean harm to our physical well-being, destruction of truth, destruction of facts, distortions of reality, planning our physical demise through means of poison, propaganda, and profiteering. It is just getting absolutely, positively ridiculous. But we're going to get into all of that a little later on. First and foremost, the main reason why you come here is because the department or the Ministry of Truth doesn't want you to come here. Yes, the Ministry of Truth is alive and well. We are living in 1984, and each day that goes by, we get further and further and further away from reality. So, jumping right into these overnight markets, there's something you got to see. And the reason you need to see it is because I know we can suffer from short term memory loss because of the high levels of stress and anxiety we're being put under each and every day because of these mavericks setting over in the Oval Office, in the office with all the pointy edges known as the Department of Defense, aka the Pentagon. We got a lot to deal with. And because we got a lot to deal with, we can so-called forget what we just heard or saw. Case in point is last night's end of day report. We went over about 30 plus charts. We took a look at what thus saith the algos. Now it's time to look at the overnight markets and rehash some of that what you learned last night. Let's see if you've been paying attention. Starting off with the Dow futures, you can see right here we're up 147 points, trading at 23,908. Right here near the highs of the session. Overnight high was 23,995. And we bounced off that low of 23,634. All right, the NASDAQ 100 is up 67.25 points, trading at 89.92. The market got up to 90.10 in the overnight market, and we got as low as 88.77 3/4. Once again, as you learned last night, NASDAQ 100 is having problems with that 9,000 handle and having even more problems once it gets to the 91 handle. A lot of problems between that 90 and 91 handle. That is problematic for the bullish argument. Taking a look at the E-mini S&P 500. We're up 19 points, trading at 28.77 1/4. The market got as low as 28.43 in the overnight, and we hit an overnight high of 28.86 1/4. Looking at the Russell, which I made my hustle, of which I am long since last night, is up 8.7 points, trading at 1276.9. I thought the market was going to break my heart when it hit 1254.1 in the overnight before recovering, and we hit an overnight high of 1286.4. All right, so the Russell's trying to hang on to these gains. Going over to Bitcoin Futures Composite Index, of which we are now up 375 points, trading at 9,360 bucks. We did hit an overnight high of 9,515 after recovering from an overnight low of 8,980. So once again, the market is trading between that 9,000 and 9,500 zone. I did tell you that the market is having a big problem with the 9,500 area. It is proving to be a very, very tough resistance zone. You saw last night the market got to 95.15 and then proceeded to collapse. All right. So that's exactly what we got going on for right now. Going now, switching our gears into the other commodities. We got Nat Gas, Natty Gas, trading at $2.01, down 12 cents. We did get up last night to $2.11. Overnight low did drop before the drop below that $2 psychological support. We got as low as $1.99. Where do we go from here? It's going to be up to the supply and demand factors. We're starting to approach that summer driving season. So naturally, gas and crude oil prices would normally go up. Nat gas is, whatever. It normally goes down during these times as we come out of the winter months. The supply demand is way down. Except for people who like to use. No, I take that back. No, it's going down. It's a seasonal thing. Sort of like live cattle in August. Once you get toward the end of August, live cattle usually takes a mad dump. A lock limit move dump. One of those things. So I'm expecting that nat gas, it's probably gonna start to fizzle out here soon too. If we haven't done so by May, that's usually where it'll start to go down. All right, looking at crude oil. Crude oil was on fire. Then it gave up the ghost on the jobless numbers. As you know, we've lost over 20 million jobs in the month of April alone, and there seems to be no end in sight. Crude oil got to a high of 26.05, and the overnight low now is $22.57. Current trade is $23.30. We're down $1.25. The market would be a lot more stable if they allowed the retail specs back into the market. This Orwellian nightmare just continues to move along. I have not known for them to keep people out of the market, not in the future space like this. They might as well just go ahead and delist it like they did pork bellies. And like they did weather futures, where the retail specs have no access to the market and can't trade it. All right, so that's what they might as well do, because if it's going to be like this, then retails don't want to be in there anyway. If they're going to take the thing down to minus $100, that's absurd. So whatever. I used to love trading the oil market, but now since they locked us out, it's not fun anymore. Who cares? There are other markets to trade. Long bond is really starting to move lower. I did warn about that in the last couple of videos. I showed you last night how it's a slow grind back down to support, and we're pretty much there. We're getting there. Long bond right now is down a full point plus 1830 seconds, trading at 178.23. One tick off of the overnight low. That's right, just a tick off the overnight low. Market is dropping like a stone. Gold market not doing any better, down $17.30, trading below the $1,700 support has been violated. Trading at $1,693.20. Overnight low, $1,690.60. So we're only $3 off of the low. Not a good way to go. And of course, I told you so. Taking a look at silver. Silver now is down a nickel, trading at $15.06. Overnight high, we did get as high as $15.39. Overnight low is $15.02. I'm not surprised that silver is bucking the momentum right now, because gold is on the decline, silver is on the incline, and that is because, ladies and gentlemen, coming into today, silver has a rally alert, whereas gold has no alert. All right, we're negative pulse waving in gold, and we're negative pulse waving in silver, but silver had the rally alert that you got in your reports. So we're not really surprised about that. I tell you, here's the one that I'm a little surprised about, and that's the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar right now is back above par, trading at par and par 02. All right, and we hit an overnight high of par 0.19. Overnight low was 99.75. All right, so this one is definitely a surprise. I did not think we'd get back over par. I think the real test here, though, is going to be, can the market close above par today? If it fails to close above par, then I think we have our situation before us, and then we'll have to trade accordingly. All right. Taking a look now at the euro dollar, it is trading at 108.20, down 41 pips. That's because the dollar is up 31 pips. Taking a look here at the Aussie, Aussie is down 20 pips, trading at 64.39. All right. Looking at the pound sterling, it's down 71 pips, trading at 123.84. Canadian dollar is still showing signs of strength as it's up 60 pips. Now make that 62 pips, trading at 141.07. Euro yen, on the other hand, is down 59 pips, trading at 114.81. It lost that 116 trading range that it was in and has just broken down. Looking at the dollar yen, it is down 36 pips, trading at 106.16. Neither can it hold on. Very interesting facts that we're seeing. Looking at food, food is still in the negative. We got beans down 3/4 of a point, trading at 8.38 and then 3/4. Just 2 points off the overnight low of 8.36.5. We did, though, get up to 8.41 and 3/4 in the overnight high. Looking at corn, corn is off 1/4 of a point, trading at 316 and 3/4, which is the lows of the session. So it's trading at the low of the session. Looking at wheat is down 2 3/4 points, trading at 518 even. Overnight high was 521 and 3/4, and the low was 515 even. So it's a mixed bag, but still bearishness in your food right now, which is really weird because people need to eat. We've had disruption of the supply chains. You would expect that the demand would be a little bit higher because of disruption of the supply chains, but that is not what we have before us. That is not what we are seeing. We're seeing the total opposite of that. And it seems that your grains, at minimum, your grains are basically in a bear market. They claim oversupply and all that good stuff. So let's see here. We're going to get now into the overnight market news. Let's do that right quick. I like to get certain things out the way before this opening bell. You know how it is. All right. I seem to have misplaced something, so let me get it back. There we go. All right. I got it up. So let's get into this right now. All right. First things first. India's service activity crashes to historic lows as the country extends lockdowns to fight coronavirus. Is anyone putting the math together on this? Lockdowns tend to equal price destruction of economies, but yet they keep doing it. Isn't that the definition of insanity, to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? IHS Markets India PMI for the service sector posted a bleak reading of 5.4 in April, significantly down from 49.3 in March. Yeah, that's beyond significantly. That is a straight up collapse. U.S. investors have piled $1 trillion into cash during the coronavirus lockdown. But UBS says rushing to the exits and abandoning the markets is not the answer. Money market holdings in the U.S. has risen by $1 trillion to $4.7 trillion over the past 8 weeks, UBS said in a note on Tuesday. Okay, so they're saying it's not the answer, but when you guys are planning price destruction of the financial markets and you've closed off all the other exits, excuse me, the only one that is left for the unsophisticated investors is money market. They don't have a choice. You see, you see what you're doing to gold. Gold is now down $20. You see what you're doing to gold. You see what you're doing to the precious metal markets. You see what you're doing to the crypto markets. You see what you've been doing to real estate markets. Every exit you have closed off. So what else are people to do? You can't really blame them for seeking some type of a bright spot. Even your bonds are down. Good grief. Disney's profit plunged 91% last quarter as the coronavirus shut down most of its business. The bright spot was Disney Plus, which has roughly doubled its subscribers to 54.5 million this year. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek says Apple has a long way to go before it's an open and fair platform as the two firms war over competition. E-cigarette maker Juul Labs to exit South Korea after a year of health controversies. Juul failed to gain traction in the market amid government health warnings. All right, Hapag Lloyd seeks savings to offset coronavirus losses. The world's fifth largest shipping operator seeks to cut losses by a mid three-digit million euro sum this year. Finland's Nokia to buy back its 2021 bond worth 500 million euros and issue a new one. The telecom equipment maker issued an offer to buy back for cash its 1% notes due March the 15th, 2021 for up to 500 million euros. Excuse me. Global stocks are mixed. In Europe, Germany's DAX was almost flat. Britain's FTSE 100 rose 0.6%, and the Euro Stoxx 50 fell 0.2%. In Asia, China's Shanghai Composite rose 0.6%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng rose 1.1%. In the U.S., futures underlying the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ all rose roughly 0.7%. First quarter earnings are due. PayPal, CVS Health, T-Mobile, and BMW are highlights. Economic data expected, ADP non-farm employment change, MBA mortgage applications, and the Energy Information Administration's crude oil stocks change are due. All right, so that is the boring market stuff. Now it's time for you to roll up your sleeves, ladies and gentlemen. Put on your big girl and big boy panties, because I do believe that the powers that be want to operate in a mysterious sector of our economy. Stay tuned to see what that is. As you know, we often refer to things such as the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex. All of these are very real entities. All of these weigh on the markets. At the end of the day, regardless of the topic or subject that we discuss here on, excuse me, the pre-market PulseScan, everything comes back around to the markets. No matter how far it seems that we have strayed from the markets, we have not, because there is a stock and or ETF for everything under the sun. All right. Now, the CIA labeled those that are always in search of truth as conspiracy theorists as a way to marginalize and dismiss those investigative journalists and to take away free speech. All right, because you're basically going around the back alleyway of taking away a person's speech by censoring them. When you censor someone, you are in sense shutting them down. You're forcing them to be quiet. And when 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 the marginalization tactics do not work, then they're left with the scorched earth tactic of physically silencing the individuals. History is full of such things. It has already come to our attention that this whole medical martial law is a planned, organized, contrived situation. It is not organic, and it has many legs to it. Many people in the trading room have been breaking me off some knowledge, posting me various information, articles, links to news specials, documentaries, you name it. And as time permits, I like to go into those and we deal with them here on the show. The biggest thing that we need to deal with today is the silencing of those that would be whistleblowers and what have you. And at the end of the day, all you need to do is follow the money. All right, follow Pfizer and Merck and all those places, and you usually will come up to a situation where who benefits? That's always the question, who benefits? All right, so researcher on cusp of COVID-19 breakthrough, killed in bizarre murder suicide. Bizarre murder suicide. To quote one of the most profound thinkers of our time, Professor Dr. Willy Wonka. No, don't stop murder. You guys remember that? All right, so a University of Pittsburgh researcher working on a coronavirus project was fatally shot on Saturday at his home in Ross Township, while associate Hao Gu, 46, was found dead in a car approximately 100 yards away of what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot. Of what appeared to be. The word to underline in that sentence is appeared. Appeared. You can insert made to look like. The researcher, 37-year-old Ding Lu, was found shot multiple times in the head, neck, and torso. Around noon on Saturday, nothing was stolen from the townhouse, and there was no forced entry, according to the Post-Gazette. He worked in the college's Department of Computational and Systems Biology at the Pitt School of Medicine. Bing was on the verge of making very significant findings toward understanding the cellular mechanism that underlies SARS-CoV-2 infection and the cellular basis of the following complications. The department announced in a written statement, adding, "We will make an effort to complete what he started in an effort to pay homage to his scientific excellence." Lu's expertise was developing computational models. The thing to underline in that one is computational models. Simulation and analysis techniques to study the dynamics of biological systems. Biological systems, underline that one, biological systems. In some cases, using machine learning techniques, underline machine learning techniques, insert above that artificial intelligence, to understand cellular processes according to his bio. He was described as an outstanding teacher and mentor. He was a very talented individual, extremely intelligent and hardworking, said the head of his department, Ivad Bahar. He has been contributing to several scientific projects. Underline the word several scientific projects. Publishing in high-profile journals. Publishing in high-profile journals. Underline publishing in high-profile journals. He was someone whom we all liked very much, a very gentle, very helpful, kind, generous person. Underline that whole thing. Very gentle, very helpful, kind, generous. So gentle, helpful, kind, and generous. Once again, this individual was gentle, helpful, kind, and generous. That has already debunked the end result of his demise. It did not say that he was so gangster, hard, cold, and ruthless. It did not say that. It didn't say that he was in them streets. It also did not say that he had problems in them streets. It also did not say that he owed somebody something. He didn't owe nobody nothing. All right? He did not owe nobody nothing. All right? Underline those words. And those were the words specifically given to describe his character and his demeanor. We are all shocked to learn what happened to him. This was very unexpected, she added. Mr. Liu has co-authored 30 plus publications. 30 plus publications. So he is not a nobody. He is not a nobody. Including 4 in 2020 alone. He has co-authored 4 this year. And this is only the beginning of May. So that's an average of a publication a month this year alone. Ms. Bahar said he had just begun research on the novel coronavirus. He had just begun research on a novel coronavirus. Not that he had been researching. They said he had just begun. He was just starting to obtain interesting results. He was starting to obtain interesting results. I want you to go ahead and put an asterisk on top of that, and I want you to insert, he was getting too close to the truth. He was sharing with us, trying to understand the mechanism of infection. So we will hopefully continue what he is doing. Go backwards. He was sharing with us. Underline sharing. He was sharing what he knew. He was sharing what he found. I would like to also quote from probably one of the most prophetic movies of all time, Fright Night. The scene with the vampire and the young man. You told your mother about me? And then he would grab him and throw him across the room each time he said this. You told your friends about me? Grabbed him and threw him against the wall again. You told the police about me, and threw him against the wall again. Well, that's what happened here. He was sharing what he found, sharing what he knew, and was trying to understand the mechanism of infection. Underlying mechanism of infection. Mechanism. In other words, the mode and methodology behind how a person is infected, becomes infected. The mode of delivery, the delivery system. Interesting results. I want you to take away from this article interesting results. Interesting results. In other words, his results were a little bit too interesting for comfort. His loss will be felt throughout the entire scientific community, said the university in a statement. The motive in the shootings is unknown, and the investigation is ongoing. A formal ruling from the Allegheny County Medical Examiner's Office regarding the cause and manner of Gu's death is pending, according to the report. According to the report. According to the report. All right? The report. They said that Mr. Hao Gu was his associate. Associate. That is a very loose word. Associate. In what way did they associate? How? How did they associate? In what way were they associated? Hmm? That is the question. In what way were they associated? You're not going to get the answer to that. I guarantee it. They always like to clean up their loose ends. Associate. Associate. Associations. Really? You really need to think about these things because they have learned to be a little less messy in what they do. A little less messy in what they do. It is very, very important that we think about this. All right. I can tell you right now, chances are that he is connected some kind of way to communist China. It has been revealed that China has spies that they sent over here, just like we send spies over there. He got too close. And so the powers that be took him off the board. They have to remove chess pieces off the board, especially when they get in the way. Most of these individuals have what is called handlers. All right. They normally introduce them as a best friend, a cousin, whatever. All right. A handler is someone that manages you, oversees your work, and steers you in the right direction, communicates to you what your bosses are requiring of you. Okay. I have to tell you guys, we are living in a very, very weird world. Straight up. And until people wake up and deal with this, it's not going to change. No one is demanding answers at all. At all. If who knows what he's involved in? We'll just leave it at that. Really. Really. Well, I have to say, we are never going to probably find out what happened because there has been a long, 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 long list of medical professionals, researchers that have died mysterious deaths over the last decade. We are well over the 150 mark of scientists, homeopathic doctors, biomedical researchers. You can Google it, you can look it up. The number is on, the list is ongoing. And we're just living, like I said, in an Orwellian nightmare. It's really sad, but it's really true. This is what we're dealing with. There's no way around it, folks. It is sad. Would you like to know how all this is linked? Well, let me show you. Oh, we're going to deal with this today. Oh, yeah, we're going to deal with this today. Mysterious, spooky, ooky, mysterious coronavirus linked syndrome spreads from London to New York. The word on the street is, as far as the rumor mills go, COVID-19 was not named COVID-19 because of its occurrence in 2019. The word on the street is that it's called COVID-19 because there are 19 different variations and strains of the thing. All right. In the words of another wise sage of our time, probably someone who has been more intellectually prolific even than Albert Einstein, even than Nikola Tesla, the wise words of famous New York battle rapper Loaded Lux. You gonna get this work. Oh yeah, you gonna get this work. An unusual deadly coronavirus linked respiratory syndrome initially observed among a cluster of children in the UK has apparently popped up in New York City, according to local media reports. Stop right there. Some of you are unaware, totally unaware, that New York City is some type of Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 location where people love to do these biomedical research among the masses without their knowledge or permission or approval. Need I remind you that the mysterious new strain of HIV also was first discovered there a decade ago. Remember, you if you were lucky, you heard of this, you saw it in the mainstream media. Just a quick blurb, a quick mentioning, a quick nod to it. This super HIV strain that as soon as you were infected with the HIV strain, it killed you in 30 days. Does everybody remember that? Does everybody remember? Most of you probably don't even know what I'm talking about because you didn't get a chance to hear it. That's how quickly it was mentioned and out of the media as fast as it came into the media. And if my memory serves me correctly, there were 2 cases in the country, but the first one was in New York. New York. And which city in America is being ravaged the hardest with the coronavirus? New York. Why not Florida? Why not California? Why not Texas? Right? Those are our most heavily populated areas. Why not? Lucas says Magic Johnson's still alive, though. Like I told you, the word on the street is that he never had it. That was part of his humiliation ritual. That's the word on the street. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I know that to be a fact. I'm just saying the streets be talking. All right, the streets is talking, and I'm just saying. The only person that knows really the truth about that is himself and or his wife. But I'm just saying the streets be talking. They just do. All right, back to the article. ABC7 says a group of 15 children in New York City have been hospitalized with unusual symptoms to get this toxic shock syndrome or Kawasaki disease. Again, they always have to put it on a foreign entity. The whipping boy of late is Asia. Remember, the whipping boy used to be anything Arab. All right, if you were Arab or you came from an Arab country, you automatically were the boogeyman. Now the new enemy is of Asian descent. All right, so let's deal with this. They said the Kawasaki. So if you can't whip on Japan, you whip on China. You keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If that don't work, okay, Kim Jong Un. Let's put it on North Korea. North Korea this, North Korea that. China this, China that. Ridiculous. The symptoms include inflammation of the blood vessels, including coronary arteries, while there have been reports of COVID-19 causing heart attacks in some patients with certain pre-existing conditions. This level of damage seems unusually severe. COVID-19 is also not usually very aggressive in young children. Other symptoms include fever, rash, abdominal pain, and vomiting. However, not all of the 15 patients tested positive for the coronavirus. Only 4 tested positive outright, while 6 tested positive for COVID-19 antibodies, meaning they had likely been previously infected. Cut it out. See, that's again, they're playing with words. Since they say that pretty much the flu itself is of the COVID class of infection, pretty much everyone on the planet should have some type of antibodies in their system, because chances are pretty much everyone on the planet at some point in their lifetime has had the flu. See what I mean? That's why the flu was always thrown up in the beginning of this and comparing it to the flu, because it's in the class of infections is the flu. And that's why I call this the Trojan horse virus bioweapon, because it presents itself under the COVID mask. All right, so you can say, "Oh, it's just it appears common in nature. It's of the flu class. It's a flu type illness." No, the flu is being used as the Trojan horse to stuff a whole bunch of things in this, and then call it COVID-19 because it has like 19 different things in it, more than likely. Many they have likely been previously infected. Okay, on Long Island, Cohen's Children's Hospital has confirmed 25 kids have been hospitalized with Kawasaki-like syndromes. Okay, let's backtrack. In the beginning, they said a group of 15 children have been hospitalized with unusual symptoms. 15 children, right? They said only 4 that they tested had coronavirus. All right? And then notice the reporting here. 6 tested positive for COVID-19 antibodies, meaning they had likely, that's a key word, likely, been previously infected. That's a little misleading, because see, their narrative is COVID-19 is the perfect enemy, because once you get it, you can keep getting it again and again and again and again. Remember, that is their narrative. All right? This is their zombie apocalypse with the perfect bioweapon that masks itself as basically the flu. All right. That way, all roads don't lead back to them. You can't prove it. See what I'm saying? If it would have presented as something else other than the flu, then they could have been exposed. But because they masked it in a flu nucleus, they get to hide it. All right. However, not all 15 patients tested positive for the virus. 25 kids have been hospitalized with the Kawasaki-like syndrome. 11 of them are in the ICU. The county health commissioner in Nassau described their condition as concerning. Mayor de Blasio issued a warning to parents, advising them to contact authorities immediately if their child exhibits a combination of the symptoms for the mysterious inflammatory syndrome. Now, of course, they want you to contact them so that they can document from afar. They're sitting back with their clipboard documenting, the progression of their bioweapon to see, how it's working. So far, no fatalities have been reported among the cases in the U.S. All patients aged 2 to 15 had a subjective or measured fever, and more than half reported rash, abdominal pains, vomiting, or diarrhea. Respiratory symptoms were reported in less than half of these patients. Notice how they just throw that out there. First of all, do you know diarrhea can kill you quicker than just about anything else? Notice how they just, rush over the diarrhea part, like, that's nothing. Oh, it's just diarrhea. Ha ha. It's a big joke. Ha ha. You got diarrhea. Ha ha. No, diarrhea can kill you quicker than anything else, because once you are dehydrated severely and now you are lacking key nutrients in your body, you die, folks. It's a delicate balance of your electrolyte system. When that's gone, you're gone. If those symptoms are seen in children, pediatricians are being told to immediately refer patients to a specialist in pediatric infectious disease, rheumatology, and/or critical care as indicated. Early diagnosis and treatment of patients meeting full or partial criteria for Kawasaki disease is critical to preventing in-organ damage and other long-term complications. Wait a minute, is it COVID-19 or is it Kawasaki now? See how they're throwing more new things at you now? But I thought it was COVID-19. See, they don't want you focusing on COVID-19 anymore. They want you to focus now on this new thing. Early diagnosis and treatment of patients meeting full or partial criteria for Kawasaki disease is critical to preventing end organ damage and other long-term complications. It's found that patients meeting criteria for Kawasaki disease should be treated with an intravenous immunoglobulin and aspirin. Well, this is something people don't like to talk about either in the medical community, but there are many people in the world that are allergic, highly allergic, all right, anaphylactic type allergic to aspirin. Okay. Early diagnosis and treatment of patients, they love that. But the intensity of the syndrome has alarmed doctors, particularly in the middle of the COVID-19 outbreak, about the possibility that a new mutated strain of the virus, underlying new mutated strain of the virus, might be emerging. Or perhaps this is some other pathogen or some other kind of unanticipated complication. Underline the word pathogen, 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 pathogen. Did I not tell you guys that our wicked governments of the world have learned how to weaponize every disease and virus on the planet and make it look like an accident? Did I not tell you that? They have learned that COVID-19 is the perfect embryo, the perfect delivery mechanism, the perfect Trojan horse to deliver whatever disease they want. All right? Just saying. This is sickening. But I told you the rabbit hole goes deep. That's why your boy was bumped off, because he was getting too close to the truth about the origins and treatment. Now, here's another situation. We're going down the rabbit hole. Coronavirus mutates into now dominant, more contagious form as doctors ponder East Coast versus West Coast strains. Did I not tell you that there are like 19 different strains of this disease? Was I? Notice how they're saying now East Coast versus West Coast. This here is a slap in your face. This is from your older programming, from the 1990s programming, where they had you beefing against each other. Some of you are probably too young to remember this because you probably weren't born yet. But there was a time in California where the Bloods and the Crips got along. All right. And was starting to move like brethren. What happened was they were brought together. There were some key people involved in making that happen. One of which was a very vocal evangelist. I forget the lady's name, but she was very key in this happening. And what happened was, after they had the ceasefire and agreed, something powerful happened. All right. This was exposed also by a whistleblower who died recently. And what happened was unintended consequences. The gang violence was out of control. So they were able to actually get it to stop. They got the Bloods and the Crips to lay down their weapons and be like, you know what, we're brothers. We don't need to be killing each other. So they thought the people who were, trying to put this together, and they had a meeting where the head leaders came together and hugged and cried together, literally cried together, man. Straight up. Hugged each other and cried. But something happened. Unintended consequences. Are you ready? Here we go. The Bloods and the Crips, after they finished crying and hugging each other's necks and stuff, they looked at each other and said, you know what? They both had a great idea, simultaneous. It was like a mental calligraphy that exploded. And what happened was they was like, yo, we've been fighting the wrong enemy. Our grandparents had the right idea, man. What do you mean? Our parents and grandparents. What do you mean? Break it down. Yo, if we take the Bloods and the Crips and put us together and become one unit, we could basically become the new Black Panther Party up here in America, and we can really bring about some change. Let's attack the real enemy here in the room. Oh, heck no. The powers that be did not like that. And they said, nope, that is too much power for anyone to have. We can't do it because they will take over the country and we will be ousted. We will lose our power and control on the people. So guess what happened? The CIA came in there and they planted evidence. They massacred one of the gang members and blamed it on the other, staged the whole crime scene, and that kindled the beefing all over again. That's all it took for them to put a stop to it. So that's why everyone's beefing today, because of that. All right. So because they knew that if they decided to come together, they were going to need a leader. And at the time, Louis Farrakhan at the Nation of Islam was working very hard to bring it into it also, but he would have ended up becoming their leader because he had a private meeting with a lot of the famous rappers in hip hop, and he was telling them that they need to to do all they can to put an end to violence and all that stuff. And this came on the back of the Stop the Violent movement with KRS-One of Boogie Down Productions and a couple of other conscious rappers at the time. Remember, there was an East Coast and a West Coast version. All right. Self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. So there was an East Coast version and a West Coast version. Okay. And they were making a lot of headway. Now, around this time, too, there was an Afrocentric consciousness permeating throughout the hip hop culture. People were walking around wearing chains around their neck with the red, the black, the green, and the Mother Africa. Things like this were starting to come out. People started learning about real quote unquote Black history. They started introducing Black history as a course in universities. Around this time, KRS-One was lecturing in Ivy League universities. You had he wasn't the only outspoken one. You had Chuck D of Public Enemy. So this was a big movement that was coming. This was basically a resurgence of the Civil Rights Movement 2.0. And then you had a real rise to Pan-Africanism and all of that. All right. This was on the back of the conscious rap, because conscious rap was really big back in, started from 1989 into the early 90s. And what happened was the powers that be put a stop to it. They killed the unity of the Bloods and the Crips into forming a big unit of change under the leadership of Louis Farrakhan. They said, nope, too much power for one man to have. We got to put a stop to it. and because this is old hat for the federal government. The federal government broke up the civil rights movement by assassinating all of the civil rights leaders, by assassinating all the civil rights leaders, by assassinating all the civil rights leaders, by assassinating all the civil rights leaders. They assassinated all the civil rights leaders. They assassinated all of the civil rights leaders. They assassinated, killed, murdered all of the civil rights leaders. All of the civil rights leaders. All of the civil rights leaders. All right? All of them. Even the nonviolent ones. Remember? Does the name Martin Luther King mean anything to you? He was nonviolent. All right? Would not lift a hand to defend himself. And they still murked him because he was too powerful. He didn't need to use his fists. His lips were too powerful. The words that was coming out of his mouth moved people too much. So they murked him. COINTELPRO is still alive and well today. Make no mistake about it. They will never allow another quote unquote civil rights leader to emerge. Not an organic one. You will get the leader that they want you to have. That is how successful they have been in infiltrating that. Not to mention, even if one were to emerge right now, he would already be ostracized and destroyed in the mainstream media, and they would use every black anchor at every news network to do it, especially if he was not part of the black boule. I digress. A new study from Los Alamos National Laboratory has revealed a new, now dominant strain of the coronavirus. New, now dominant strain of the coronavirus. Dominant strain of the coronavirus. Dominant strain, which appears to be more contagious, according to the authors. Meanwhile, doctors in the United States are wondering if the harder hit East Coast is being hit with a different version of the virus than the West Coast. Different version of the virus, different version of the virus, different version of the virus. I do believe I was one of the first people to tell you that on social media. I told you what to look for back in December. I warned you of the key aspects of knowing if this was a bioweapon or not. I told you. And everything I told you happened the way I told you it was going to happen. The only way you can get various strains of this so quickly is because they are being dropped on the people. Various strands have been dropped all over the world. It is so easy and simple to do. Y'all don't hear me. I just told you. They have successfully learned how to engineer bioweapons. They can deliver any disease, any virus, including STDs, to anyone they please. Straight up. They can give your 5-year-old STDs. You think I'm playing? You think this is a joke? This is not a joke. They can give a baby an STD. But how does my baby have this? He was just born. He's only a couple hours old. If they want to, they can do it. I'm telling you, they have learned how to engineer this stuff, guys. And their delivery systems are many. They can do it. Yes. There's so many delivery mechanisms, you guys. I'm trying to tell you. Y'all don't hear me this morning. This is some real stuff. All right. This ain't no movie. This is real life. Different versions of the virus. I want you to underline that. Different versions of the virus. Emerging in early February, the new strain migrated from Europe to the East Coast of the United States. Wait a minute. Stop. How do you know that? How do you know where it migrated from? How do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know? How do you know that? Exactly. You hit it right on the head because that's what they were told. It became the dominant strain across the world beginning in mid-March. Wherever the new strain has appeared, it quickly infected far more people than earlier strains. Earlier strains, I want you to underline earlier strains, especially the word strains. They didn't say the earlier strand. It said strains with an S, making it plural. There's plurality being dropped here, saying that from the onset there were plural versions, plural meaning many, plural meaning more than one. It's plural, people. It's plural. From the beginning, they just said it right here. Plural. Plural means many. Many. It infected far more people than earlier strands. The key word is earlier and then the word strands. This has only technically been around, according to the mainstream media, since December. Earlier strands. We are now in the beginning of May. Earlier strands. What are you talking about? That means that from the beginning, from day one, we had strands. We had many. The name is Legion because they are many, which emerged from Wuhan, China. Within weeks, it became the most prevalent strand in some nations. You never, ever heard the word strands from the onset. You just heard coronavirus, Wuhan, China. That's all you heard. Coronavirus, Wuhan, China. That was the narrative. Not strands. Not, oh my goodness, just as this is emerging, we have 19 different strands. We have 20 different strands. We have an unlimited number of strands. You never heard that. They're talking about it now as they're opening up the countries again, the states, the countries. Now you're hearing about multiplicity of strands. Why do you think they were telling you that it's possible to get reinfected? That is impossible. It doesn't make any sense unless you got multiple strands. People, wake up! Multiple strands. It's the only way you can get reinfected with a disease. You cannot get chicken pox twice. You cannot get the measles or the mumps twice. Unless there are 15 different new strands that they have created in a lab. All right? I'm just saying. In addition to spreading faster, it may make people vulnerable to a second infection after a first bout with the disease, the report warned. Why is that? Because of multiple strands. The 33-page report was posted Thursday on BioRxiv, a website that researchers use to share their work before it is peer-reviewed, an effort to speed up collaborations with scientists working on COVID-19 vaccines or treatments. That research has been largely based on the genetic sequence of earlier strands and might not be effective against the new one. Do you now see why they use the COVID housing group as their Trojan horse? It's because there are multiple different flu strands available to choose from. So they chose this one because it is the best Trojan horse. It is the bigger, badder, more Trojan horse. You can fit more things into this Trojan horse, not just one thing. You can attach several, and you can keep replicating said viruses. Are you following me? That research has been largely based on the genetic sequence of earlier strands. How can you do research on earlier strands if you were never told there were multiple strands to begin with? And where did you even get the samples from? Come on, people, wake up! You're sleeping. You are asleep. Wake up. Get out of bed. There's work to do, people. According to the report, 14 mutations have been identified in the spike of proteins of SARS-CoV-2. You can't make this stuff up, people. Didn't I not tell you that the word on the street is 19 strands? Well, this article right now just told you that there are 14 mutations that they have already verified. 14 mutations. 14, 1, 4, plural, not singular. 14 strains, not strand, strains. 14. That's 14 uppercuts, body blows, left and right hooks, and straight jabs. Come on now. Can't make this stuff up. The protrusions of the exterior of the virus, which make up its namesake, corona. If you take a picture of the coronavirus and you take a look at the coronavirus, you see that ball, that sphere, that perfect sphere with all of these modules attached to it. And there are many. All right. How many mics do you break on a daily? Many. Money. Remember that? How many mics do you rip on a daily? Many. Money. COVID can carry many things attached to it. It's a ball that you can attach things to. The report was based on a computational analysis of more than 6,000 coronavirus samples from around the world. Where did you get these samples? And who gave them to you? 6,000 samples collected by the Germany-based Global Initiative for Sharing All Influenza Data. Influenza data. Germany. All right, I'll let you in on a little secret. I knew people that were scientists working at NIH. One of them is German. His specialty is in the pneumococcus virus. Yes, brilliant man. I also knew other brilliant scientists, researchers in the specialties of what we would call cancer research. Yep. And unfortunately, I cannot go into those details. But those people know who they are. Assisted by scientists at Duke University and the University of Sheffield in England, the Los Alamos team focused on a mutation called D614G, which controls changes in spike proteins. The story is worrying as we see mutated form of the virus very rapidly emerging over the month of March, becoming the dominant pandemic form, said the lead author, Beth Kober, a Los Alamos computational biologist. When viruses with this mutation enter a population, they rapidly begin to take over the local epidemic. Thus, they are more transmittable. While the Los Alamos report is highly technical and dispassionate, Kober expressed some deep personal feelings about the implications of the finding in her Facebook post. Quote, "This is hard news," wrote Kober, "but please don't only be disheartened by it. Our team at LANL was able to document this mutation and its impact on transmission only because of a massive global effort of clinical people and experimental groups who make new sequences of the virus SARS-CoV-2 in their local communities available as quickly as they possibly can, end quote, from the LA Times. The new strain first appeared in Italy almost at the same time as the original Wuhan strain appeared, according to the report. By March 15th, the mutated strain was dominant. The same was seen in New York. Why is my alarm going off? Hold on a second. Got to make that annoying sound stop. All right, you guys, I'm back. Oh my goodness. That was quite interesting, wasn't it? Having my fire alarm go off. No one's cooking. The house is not on fire. No one's smoking. So I don't know what's going on. All right, man. Where were we? My goodness, that was crazy. All right, so let me find out where I left off at here. Let's see. Yep. Okay. All right. The new strain first appeared in Italy almost at the same time as the original Wuhan strain appeared, according to the report. By March the 15th, the mutated strain was dominant. The same was seen in New York, which was hit by the original virus around March 15th, but was overwhelmed by the new strain within days. The only way that can happen, folks, like I said, is if it was delivered. Delivered. The authors also warn if the pandemic doesn't wind down during the summer, as most viruses do, it could undergo further mutations right as the first medical treatments and vaccines. Should the adhere to ambitious timelines we've been promised begin to roll out. All right, guys, again, if that happens, then you know it has been bioengineered to a point where it can grow and resist. All right, because technically speaking, reason why you don't have, big pandemics in the summer is because it's too hot and those viruses can't survive. But under cold weather, they can thrive. In cool, cold weather, they can thrive. But if they've found a way to bypass that and have this thing to keep moving, then the world's in trouble. We cannot afford to be blindsided as we move vaccines and antibodies into clinical testing, Cobra added on Facebook. Please be encouraged by knowing the global scientific community is on this and we are cooperating with each other in ways I have never seen in my 30 years as a scientist, she says. First of all, that is poppycock. That is a bunch of poppycock. We all know about the hydrochloroquine thing, whatever. I know I'm messing the name up, but we already know it's been proven and demonstrated to work and to cure anyone of this COVID. All right. We had the testimony live on the air of the senator who was dying with the coronavirus. She was dying. She was about to roll out. Her soul was about to leave her body, and then she was able to get that hydrochloroquine, Johnny Cochran. I've been going to call it Johnny Cochran. She got the Johnny Cochran, and guess what? She was healed and able to go on TV and talk about her experience. But you know what? that report did not go worldwide. It did not go worldwide. It was just localized. It was swept under the rug. Most of you probably don't even know who I'm talking about, but it is a fact. It happened. All right. David Montefiore, a Duke University scientist who worked on the report, said it is the first to document a mutation in the coronavirus that appears to make it more infectious. People, the more I read this, the more I am saying we need to watch the pharmaceutical industrial complex, and let's see what happens. I guarantee you their stocks are going to do well as the stock market's getting ready to roll over. All right, let's see. All right. Although the researchers don't yet know the details about how the mutated spike behaves inside the body, it's clearly doing something that gives it an evolutionary advantage over its predecessor and is fueling its rapid spread. One scientist called it a classic case of Darwinian evolution. That is not a classic case of Darwinian evolution. I cannot believe this person would say that with a straight face without laughing. We've already... How many times do you have to debunk something that's already been debunked? How is this virus a classic case of Darwinian evolution when Darwinian evolution is not a scientific fact? It is nothing but a theory that was made up mad years ago and has already been debunked every which way to Sunday. There is no macro evolution. No macro evolution. Your fossil record is doing you in. You said point to the fossil record. We see it. We don't see it. I don't see an ape turning to a man. We did come from them. Okay, then why are there no more monkeys and apes since then transferring to a man? I've never been to a zoo to visit the monkeys in the ape house, see an ape or a monkey, be like, hey, look, he's changing. Look at his face. Look at his face. He has the face of Sean Combs. He look like that's Puffy. Yo, the one next to you, I swear that's Biggie. Take a picture. Oh my goodness, look, this monkey is transforming right before our eyes. Stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Not happening, because it never happened. You will not see a monkey at a zoo that is transforming before your eyes. Look at them, yo. Look how he walks up. He not walking up right. He breakdancing. Look at him. He got moves. Yo, I guess human beings do come from monkeys. Because look, he's transforming right before our eyes. Cut it out. D614G is increasing in frequency at an alarming rate, indicating a fitness advantage relative to the original Wuhan strain that enables more rapid spread, the study said. First of all, this entire article is mad dishonest. They're trying to make it seem like the scientific medical community is working so hard to find a cure when one already exists. The hydrochloroquine. Hydrochloroquine is what the senator took that saved her life. Why are they ignoring this? Oh, I know, because it's cheap. You can pretty much get it over the counter, and they're not going to make billions and billions of dollars. So they got to come up with one that they claim is government approved. Then once they do, then they will make it impossible for you to get the hydrochloroquine, because they'll come up with some kind of thing and say it's killed 99 people, or it's killed 1,000 people, or it's killed. Oh, you know what? We got new proof now. Oh my goodness! It's not the coronavirus that killed all these people all over the world. It's the hydrochloroquine. That's all they'll do. And they'll parade doctor after doctor after doctor after scientist after scientist after scientist, and they'll put the company that makes it out of business and even bring them up on charges. They'll parade them in front of the camera. They'll make sure that the media is in every day in the courtroom. They'll say the person's guilty. They'll put them in prison, show them in handcuffs, being marched away. They'll do whatever it takes to protect their investment into the quote unquote cure for the COVID-19. And it will be just as effective as a flu shot. You want to know why? the flu shot is 0% effective because they always claim we don't know what strand it's going to be this year, but we still say you take this flu shot that is only for this strand. Again, you guys, they got you on the merry-go-round of miracles, telling you that they hold the truth. Again, Bill Gates could not keep Microsoft Windows virus free, but yet you trust him as an expert to keep you virus free and save you from this pandemic. Or should I say plandemic, because this was a planned epidemic. I tell you, man, it just gets whacker by the second. Different strains, different effects. As the Times notes, doctors in the United States have begun to question whether new strands of the virus could account for differences in how it affects different people. First of all, you guys are being dishonest, because if you were really trying to save lives, really trying to help people, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. This article would not be written. And you know what? I'm done with the article because it's foolishness. The bottom line is you guys are ignoring the cure that is right in front of us because it's not going to make you money. And it's disgusting. All right? It is disgusting. This is why your boy was murked, because he was getting too close to the truth, and he would have had in his hands, right in his hand, he would have had the medical proof, the scientific proof that would have blown up everything else in its wake. It would have just blew it up. It would have 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 blew it up. And they can't have that. All right, you guys, I did warn you that today we had to go there and deal with a lot. I told you we had a lot on our plate to deal with. I warned you from the outset of this channel. I warned you. Now I really need you to pull up your big boy pants and your big girl pants, and I need you to grab your plushie toy or whatever you need, your little teddy bear you sleep with at night, whatever, because it's going to get scary now. All right, I presented to you some facts in the first part of this live stream. Now we're gonna go a little wee, like the little piggy said, wee. We're gonna go wee down the rabbit hole. All right, we got to go there. We got to deal with this stuff once and for all because I'm tired of it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's whack. It doesn't go anywhere. It falls on deaf ears. People just want to hear and believe whatever they want to hear and believe. And I am that person. I'll tell you right now, I'm not that dude. I never like trying to convince people to do something that they know they should have done all along. I don't have the patience for it, you know? All right. Let's go. Secret COVID-19 Manhattan Project led by billionaires seeking to influence Trump administration. Pull up a chair. This campfire story is about to get pretty scary. Last month, Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey called for the bold and urgent launch of what he called a Manhattan Project type approach to fight the coronavirus pandemic, given the enormity of the health and economic impact, increasingly even harming U.S. defense readiness. Apparently, there has been such a group operating behind the scenes, but very unlike the original Manhattan Project, it's a private sector initiative funded by a tiny network of ultra-rich industry titans working closely with government contacts. Underlying industry titans working closely with government contacts. The merger of corporate and government equals, come on, boys and girls, raise your hand if you know the answer. Too late, time's up. Fascism. Meet the secret group of scientists and billionaires pushing Trump on a COVID-19 plan profiled in a lengthy Wall Street Journal investigation. These scientists and their backers described their work as a lockdown era Manhattan Project, a nod to the World War II group of scientists who helped develop the atomic bomb. All right, they developed a nuke to destroy human beings. This time around, the scientists are marshaling brains and money to distill unorthodox ideas gleaned from around the globe. First of all, we don't live on a globe, but that's another story. They call themselves scientists to stop COVID-19, and they include chemical biologists and immunobiologists, a neurobiologist and a chronobiologist, an oncologist, a gastroenterologist, an epidemiologist, and a nuclear scientist. Of the scientists at the center of the project, biologist Michael Rosbash, a 2017 Nobel Prize winner, said, "There is no question that I'm the least qualified. First and foremost, we know that Nobel Peace Prizes are given out like M&Ms and Tic Tacs. All you got to do is be a part of the club if you would like to get one. You don't really have to be brilliant. Also, there's no proof that anyone who wins a Nobel Prize is any more smarter than the average person, man on the street. We have proof of that. We have mad proof of that. Don't forget, long-term capital management back during your whole crises back in the day had nothing but Nobel Peace Prize winners and things of that nature on their board running the fund. And you know what happened? All of these guys were like Mensa members, all right, genius IQs, all right, leading mathematicians, all right, all that good stuff. And what happened to the fund? It blew up. The fund blew up. It was the first real bailout of its kind, and it started the whole central bank bailout pandemic, global pandemic that we see now. Long-term capital management is responsible for that. They were deficit $1 billion, and it would have blew up the entire financial system if the government didn't bail them out. These were Nobel Peace Prize mathematicians and scientists, folks. All right? If the mathematician blew up trading the market, what does that tell you about this market? And this is before the market evolved into what it is now. We're talking about the late 80s, early 90s market. All right? It ain't the market we got now. It's all run by computers and algorithms. Back then, you still had trading pits. You had human beings in the pit. You had human being market makers, not robotic ones like you got today. There was no Globex back then. Didn't exist. All right. You did not have your ETFs. Didn't exist. All right. The until now secretive group is led by a 33-year-old physician turned venture capitalist, Tom Cahill, and is described as an elite go-between the pharmaceutical industry and the Trump administration decision makers, or an ad hoc review board of sorts, pursuing cutting edge, outside the box ideas. Underlying this one, elite go between the pharmaceutical industrial complex and the Trump administration. Again, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, this is their man, this is their front man. The scientists include a dozen world-renowned researchers, pathology experts, and inventors who are extremely dishonest. I'm adding this. They're extremely dishonest, and they're on the take, because if they were truly honest, they would talk about the hydrochloroquine and how it is the panacea for this coronavirus. But they will not do that because their handlers whom they work for, they're working on a cure, quote unquote, a vaccine that will cost an enormous amount of money and will make them an enormous amount of money. All right? Because they're going to corner the market and pass laws and legislations to make it that way. The scientists include a dozen world-renowned researchers, pathology experts, and inventory people. All right. Closely networked as institutions ranging from the Scripps Research Lab in La Jolla, California, to Yale University School of Medicine, to Harvard, to MIT's Laboratory for Nuclear Security and Policy, to private companies and labs like Merck and others. Did I not use the word Merck and Pfizer in a complete sentence just a while ago during this live stream? Did I not bring those names up to you? Recommendations and ideas floated by scientists to stop COVID-19 have already reportedly had far-reaching influence, including affecting policy inside the FDA and the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the group is reportedly advised in close Pence aide Nick Ayers. See, when the military-industrial complex plays its war game on the public, they have already put their doctors and their scientists on the payroll to be their frontmen to go out and influence policy, problem, reaction, solution. All right. So now you know we have a Manhattan Project group of scientists on the take, pretty much the same scientists that were on the take doing the man-made global warming fiasco led by your once Vice President Al Gore, who is a prominent prevaricator, lilac, false fibber, who said that he invented the internet. All right. He didn't invent anything. All right. He didn't invent anything. The internet is a, how do I say this? It is a big animal that had many hands that worked on it. Many people who worked on it don't even realize to this day that they worked on it. So no, Mr. Gore, you did not create this. If you did, you would have patented, copywritten it, and all that other stuff, trademarked it, and you would be getting paid every time somebody goes online. But that is not the case, liar. It's like you lied about that movie, The Inconvenient Truth, liar. All right. Where does this lead us to end this today? This leads us to tyranny. All right. Ron Paul, you remember Ron Paul, who wanted to audit the Fed? Well, he's now warning of forced vaccinations and digital certificates. Yes, that is the next thing that we're going to hit. Or like some like to coin it, coronacide. Grasping the obvious, this was all planned beforehand. As the totalitarian horror unfolds before our eyes, only the willfully blind will ignore it. Only those who refuse to think will fail to grasp its implications. Only the irrefutable corrupt will embrace it. There are a lot of blind, unthinking, and corrupt people out there. Start with virus basics. Viruses typically show exponential growth early on, but that cannot continue, or eventually the virus would take over the entire planet and then the entire universe. All right. The experts offer projections based on exponential growth, even as their own statistics showed that growth curves were becoming non-exponential. Remember, I told you guys that in the beginning, which means that many of the projections, both globally and for the US, based as they are on exponential growth that no longer exist, will be off the mark by orders of magnitude. As this becomes clearer, the dictatorial types will panic and try to enact still more dictatorial measures, which we know is already underway. All right. I told you back that. I told you guys about that. I told you. I said this thing is not a pandemic because it wasn't even moving. You hardly had 1,000 people infected in China at the time. I said for this thing to be the Black Death that they're claiming it is, it surely ain't moving. The Black Death would have already killed at least 100,000 people by now, but we were not seeing those numbers coming out of Asia. I told you, I said, when you see this thing ramping up out of nowhere all of a sudden, that's because now they dropped the second and third and fourth strands of it because they were dropping exclusively, specifically in different parts of the world. All right. I told you guys, I said, now when you see this, that's how you know this is man-made and it's a bioweapon. Does anybody hear me? Can I get a witness? It looks like it will be 2 orders of magnitude globally, from tens of millions of deaths down to hundreds of thousands, and in the US from millions of deaths down to tens of thousands. If you were charitably inclined toward the ruling caste, you could offer the excuse that they realize their own mathematical and scientific ignorance and illiteracy, and so accepted the expert projections. This is not just misplaced charity, it's downright delusional. The ruling caste accepted the projections because they were the avenue to what they wanted, those dictatorial measures. That's right, this was put out here because they want the dictatorial measures. They're rolling out the Borg, the hive mind. So now we're supposed to believe that the powers are regretfully eliminating what's left of our freedoms and destroying our economy to protect us from this scourge that might kill 5/100ths of 1% of our population. The notion is idiotic on its face and could only work on a docile, emasculated, and brain-dead populace who yearns for the sterile safety of a rubber room, straitjacket, and a ball gag, removed 3 times a day when the night nurse spoons them their gruel. They'll be free of want and fear and everything else. The powers want absolute power, period. Their panic and police states are designed to instill and further the want and fear they say they deplore. Their stocks in trade are want and fear. They never eliminate them, even if they could. Mission accomplished. They have certainly instilled and furthered want and fear, allowing them to consolidate and extend their power. From fearful, compliant automatons, the silence was deafening. Even much of the alternative media failed to ask the most basic questions, working off of medical establishment, government, and mainstream media assumptions, projections, and scare tactics. Perhaps the most distressing aspect of this whole ordeal is that Americans have surrendered to panic and propaganda without a shot. The strongest and most cogent objections came from a few doctors and epidemiologists. Stanford epidemiologist John P.A. Ioannidis was one of the first. Dr. Ron Paul early on called out the coronavirus hoax. Unfortunately, doctors and epidemiologists also were responsible for many of the scariest projections and much of the agitation for police state measures. It's as if the world's auto mechanics decided that cars' useful lives would be meaningfully extended and public safety enhanced if everyone was forced to drive 25 miles an hour. Probably true, but think of the cost and time and money if we had to drive that slowly. The mechanics have their perspective, the doctors and epidemiologists have theirs. What's been lacking is broader perspectives that reckon or even acknowledge the response's staggering costs to liberty and the economy, underlying the staggering costs to liberty and the economy. The staggering cost to our liberty and the economy. Fast forward to now. If you predict that government's response to the coronavirus outbreak will reveal not so hidden agendas of globalist power and domination, why do you think they keep saying the world will never go back to the way it was? They keep saying that over and over and over again. Terminate the last vestiges of freedom, destroy the economy and financial markets, kill far more people than the virus itself, and set precedents for everything from enforced confinement to martial law to mandatory vaccinations to electronic money to compelled microchip identification and surveillance whenever a group of experts make scary projections about lethal microbes, which from now on will be almost always. You're well on your way to being proved right on all counts. If you still doubt that coronavirus response is intended to terminate the last vestiges of freedom, check out the techno tyranny, how the U.S. national security is using coronavirus to fulfill an Orwellian vision by Whitney Webb. For those so inclined, the link has been dropped into the live stream. The tide is turned on coronavirus projections and the officially ginned up numbers. Unfortunately, it's just going out on the economic damage from the response to the coronavirus. There's a widespread propaganda ploy when the media refers to the carnage. They attribute it to the coronavirus and not the draconian measures enacted to address the coronavirus. That's like blaming the gun for killing the intruder. The gun did not shoot the man who illegally broke into your home in the middle of the night. That was your hand that shot the intruder. We don't blame the gun. And we don't blame the person who was defending their property. We blame the criminal who broke in the first place. All right? Capiche? So 26.5 million Americans filing jobless claims in 5 weeks is due to the coronavirus and not the decrees destroying the economy, closing businesses, and putting millions under house arrest, as if 26.5 million Americans are out sick rather than forcibly prevented from earning a living. Wake the heck up. You cannot blame the unemployment situation on a virus. You got to blame the unemployment situation on the shutting down of the economy. You physically prevented people from going to work. How did you think that was going to affect the economy? 30 million people out of work. So are you saying that 30 million people called out sick at the same time because of the coronavirus? Give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. All right. It was the government that destroyed the economy. They closed all the businesses. They put millions of us under house arrest. That's why the economy is tore up. That's why you have tens of millions of people on unemployment as we speak, and millions more on the way. It's not like these measures even work. There is not an inverse relationship between the severity of isolation policies and severity of the disease. Keeping those with the disease isolated, which is the true definition of quarantine, by the way, you never quarantine healthy people. You always quarantine the sick, even going back to biblical times in the Old Testament. If someone was stricken with leprosy, they were put outside of the city gates. You didn't put the people outside of the city gates and let the affected stay in the city. House arrest, the true definition of a lockdown, doesn't achieve these goals. All right, lockdown. All right. Some countries that do not house arrest have death rates per million far lower than countries that do. Confining people to their homes keeps them away from sunlight and fresh air. Sunlight and fresh air. Sunlight and fresh air. Underline sunlight and fresh air. We're not even going to get into sunlight and melanin. But I think you guys get the drift. You guys are the smartest listeners on the planet. I think you know where that's going. I digress. Whose therapeutic benefits have been known since the Spanish flu? Actually, these things have been known, you guys, going back thousands of years. All right. A century ago and were used to fight it. House arrest also makes it more difficult to exercise, another proven immune system and health builder. Isolation of the healthy also slows the development of herd immunity. Isolation of the healthy slows the development of herd immunity. Slows the development of herd immunity. Most people who are infected by the coronavirus will have few or no symptoms and will develop antibodies to it. To the extent home confinement actually prevents exposure, it also prevents herd immunity, potentially setting up a second wave of new cases during the next autumn and winter's flu season. The coronavirus will be a gift that keeps on giving to the ruling caste. Did I not say that to you earlier? This is the perfect disease because they can release it and have it re-emerge whenever they need to or get desperate enough. All right? I remember being in sixth grade and getting the chicken pox. Now, back during these times, the people, the regular people, not the doctors, not the government, the people practice herd immunity. Hey, y'all, so-and-so got chicken pox. Oh, okay. All right, everybody. Everybody's going to Susie's house because she has the chicken pox. We're all going. All right, come on, let's go. We'll pack up and go to Susie's house because she has the chicken pox. You'd be like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Who would do something like that? That's ridiculous. No, 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 no. The reason why we did it was to quickly bring about the herd immunity. So you go over there, then you hurry up and get the chicken pox. Everybody can have it at the same time, get rid of it. Don't have to worry about it. You go ahead and suffer your week-long isolation, whatever, and do what you got to do. Boom, you go back to school like nothing happened. Okay? That's what it is. Herd immunity. Herd immunity is a real thing. It really does happen. And it happened. I was there. I've participated in it. I know it works. We did it. 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 Your cousin has chicken pox. All right, who hasn't had the chicken pox? Okay, you, and you. Go hang out with your cousin today. Let's get this party started. Why else did people do that? Do you know why we did that too? Do you know why we did that? Do you know why? Do you know why? Do you know why we did that? Because we learned that when you're dealing with the chicken pox, it is better to get it as a child than to get it as an adult. We learned that if you get chicken pox as an adult, your mortality rate goes up high. You could die. But if you get it as a child, you can hurry up, build the antibodies to it, and be immune to it for the rest of your life. Sounds like a good plan to me. That's why everyone's going over Sally's house, because she has the chicken pox. All right? That's how we did it. All right? Now, I can't speak to other folk. I can only speak to how things go down in certain minority communities. All right? At least back in the day. I don't know what people are doing now. For every 1,000 mentions of vaccines and potential vaccines against the coronavirus in the media, there is one mention of nature's most potent defense against viruses, the immune system and naturally acquired immunity. That's only the tangential reference when they note that a disproportionate number of coronavirus deaths befall people with compromised immune systems. Excuse me. The logical, albeit unstated inference is that bolstering your immune system may be a more effective strategy for dealing with the coronavirus than trying to hide from it. Vitamin C and D, zinc, sunlight, fresh air, exercise, a healthy diet, and sleep are all proven immunity boosters, but there's not much money in promoting them. Again, follow the money. Follow the money, the money. Follow the Skrilla, the scratch, the greenbacks, the dough, the chicken, the cream. Follow the cheddar, the ducats. The voices in the alternative media boosting those boosters, Bill Sardi, Dr. David Brownstein, Dr. Joseph McCullough, do far more good than the mainstream's endless admonitions to stay indoors, wear face masks, and socially distance until Bill and Melinda Gates find a profitable vaccine. That's right. You're being asked to stay indoors, wear face masks, and practice social distance until Bill and Melinda Gates find a profitable vaccine. Too bad the former don't get a tenth of the attention the latter does. That's how you know they're being disingenuous. They're not trying to help or save you. They're trying to get richer. Always remember rule number one: the rich always want to get richer. It was the famous quote from Martha Stewart saying that she wasn't rich enough. Y'all remember that? How does it feel to be a billionaire? You're officially a billionaire. She said, I wish I had more. Okay? The rich always want to get richer. All right? Now that the global numbers are headed the right direction, there are fewer stories reporting, analyzing, or putting them in any kind of context. Instead, we get personal interest stories to divert attention. Patients and their loved ones struggling with the disease, medical heroes, and how celebrities are coping with enforced isolation and idleness. Most of the numbers stories are about spikes up in new cases or deaths in various localities and countries. There are few personal interest stories about the newly unemployed, food line standees, or the heroes trying to keep their small businesses afloat. Has anyone noticed that? Huh? Can I get a witness on that? Because that's exactly what you're seeing in the mainstream media anytime you turn your television on. That's all you're hearing about. You're not hearing and seeing anything else. All right? You're not seeing and hearing the truth, only what they want you to see. Where are the stories about the newly unemployed? Where are the stories about the food lines? Where are the stories about the real heroes trying to keep their small businesses afloat? Where are their stories at? You're not going to hear about that because it doesn't push forward the agenda. Wake up, people. The coronavirus response is inflicting a global economy whose immune system is severely compromised by its addiction to debt. We have a debt addiction in this country. Let me get a sip of water. Like many of the coronavirus victims before infection, the economy was already on death's door. Most of you don't know that. The apparent economic growth during the recovery since the 2008-2009 financial crisis was bought with huge expanse of government, businesses, and personal debt, facilitated by the manner of central banks, sleight of hand, quantitative easing, lower negative interest rates, and monetizing government debt. It's akin to a terminal patient kept alive by a constant drip feed of drugs. Trying to keep the corpse alive. The body is already dead and starting, the organs are already shutting down. But you say, as long as I'm keeping that heart beating, no, we good. No, you're not good. You're not good. You're not good. We have never been in recovery, people. We have never been in recovery, people. We have never been in recovery, never been in recovery, never been in recovery, never been in recovery, never been in recovery. And it's not since the 2008, 2009 A paper, good credit, financial crisis, mortgage crisis. We have never recovered from 9/11. What? I bet you won't hear that nowhere on social media or on the mainstream media. We have never, you heard it from me, we have never recovered from 911. Someone call 911. We have never recovered. So now I have to quote from another wise sage of our time. This high IQ individual has said he is known for probably one of the most prophetic comments of all time. 911 is a joke. Flavor Flav from Public Enemy. 911 is a joke. It's true. It's a joke. It's a bad joke. It's a joke given in poor taste, but it's nonetheless true. It is factual. The company was officially ruined economically on 9/11. The country was financially ruined on 9/11. Financially ruined on 9/11. Financially ruined. Our economy was destroyed on 9/11. Our economy was destroyed on 9/11. 9/11, 9/11. Our economy went to zero. The dollar went to zero. The US dollar went to zero. The US dollar went to zero. Precious metals became priceless. Precious metals became priceless. Precious metals became priceless. Stocks went to zero. Stocks went to zero. Every stock in the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ went to zero. Every stock went to zero. Every stock went to zero. How did they rig and cheat the game? They did not allow the futures to move. The futures went to a permanent lock limit move on the way down, and they put on the circuit breakers and they halted trading before they halted trading for the entire world on that day. The entire world agreed to cease trading. The entire world stopped trading, even our so-called enemies. You probably don't know this because you will never see this in a documentary, ever. That's why you're hearing it here. I was there. I know what I saw. I know what I saw. I know what I was told. All right? Everything went to zero. They had to close the markets. And while the markets remained closed for an entire week, they spent that time scrubbing and what we call busting the trades. All right, that's shop talk. If you never worked on Wall Street, then you don't know what I'm talking about. If you didn't have a license, a securities license, then you don't know what I'm talking about. If you didn't actually have any type of trade experience, if you did not work in a trading capacity in any kind of way or work on or run a trade desk, then you do not know what I am talking about. But for those that do know what I'm talking about, busting a trade, as you know, is when you erase it as if it never happened. All right. Now, this is uncommon knowledge, but busting trade still goes on at the major wirehouses of the world. All right. Freddie and Fannie Mae, other bond situations, they have the ability to bust the trades that they don't like. They put on a trade and they lose money, they can bust it and say it doesn't exist. It never happened. Most people don't know that. All right. because those that run the system are the same ones that can control and benefit the system. They get to wipe out all losing trades. That's why in the mainstream media it was pumped and touted for a while that Goldman Sachs had 100% accuracy rate in their trading for like several months in a row, no losing trades. Of course you can say that because you busted all the losing trades, so they never happened. All right, you and I can't do that, but they can because they run the mechanisms that run the market. So anyway, on 9/11, we were broke, we were busted, we were bankrupt. We never recovered from that, folks. All they did was wipe out every trade. Now, you ask yourself, how in the world were they able to bust every trade on 9/11, erase every trade, erase every trade? Now, I can understand on the local level that the New York Stock Exchange says we're going to bust all of our trades for the day. They never happen. But how do you get Globex to go along with that? How do you get the NASDAQ to go along with that? How do you get the interbanks on the forex desks around the world to go to get along with that? How do you get all the other commodity markets around the world? How did you get the Winnipeg Exchange to agree to do that up in Canada? How did that happen? If it was not a coordinated effort, you can't get these countries to agree on anything, but on this day they all agreed, oh, let's feel sorry for America, whom we hate, the great white Satan, as they like to refer to it. But yet they agreed to go to the funeral and pay their respects and all that. So they just agreed to bust a day's work of economic output like it never happened. Like it never happened. Like it never happened. And keep the markets closed until America was ready to reopen a week later. Like it never happened. Like it never happened. I know what I saw. The prices were off the charts. Literally, you could not get a price. There was no price discovery. Commodities had no price discovery. Gold and silver had no price discovery. Forex had no price discovery. The dollar was zero to all of them. I think if I remember correctly, the British pound was like 10,000 pounds to $1. It was absolutely abysmal. It was a nightmare. It was a horror story. And they erased it as if it never happened. You can go and say, well, I'm going to buy data and I'm going to get that data. You can't because it doesn't exist. And if anyone does put it in a package to you, it's made up numbers. It's not actual real numbers. Yep. You heard it here first. These are facts. These are facts. Interest compounds exponentially, leaving aside the central bank created abomination of negative interest rates. Debt must be paid back or rolled over. It's the debtor's liability and the creditor's asset. And it's ultimately a claim on and is often secured by real assets and production. Let's talk. I want you guys to hear this because you're not going to like it. Interest compounds exponentially. Interest compounds exponentially. That's why when you buy $100,000 house, you end up, if you keep the house for the next 30 years, you end up paying 300%. You pay 3 times what the house is worth. On average. So instead of $100,000, you're paying the bank $300,000 over the course of the next 30 years. And you know why that happens like that? Because interest compounds exponentially. So if the U.S. government is $100 trillion in debt to the central bank over the next 30 years, technically speaking, we will be paying back $300 trillion. Because what? Interest compounds exponentially. Interest compounds exponentially. You do not get to suspend the laws of physics or mathematics unless you are God. And the government is not God. The government cannot suspend the laws of physics because it is not God. But because the Federal Reserve, i.e., central banks, are the god of the economy, the world economy, they get to suspend the laws of physics and the laws of compounding interest, which compounds what, class? Exponentially. You got that right, Sling. Exponentially in perpetuity. Exactly. Debt must be paid back, or it can be rolled over. All right, let's break that down. Sort of like a forbearance. You're late on your mortgage. You missed a few mortgage payments. You beg and plead on your hands and knees to your banker, to your bank, to that entity that holds your mortgage, that holds your paper. They hold your paper. So you are on your hands and knees begging and pleading for mercy. You're saying, please have mercy on me, Wells Fargo. Please have mercy on me, Bank of America. Please have mercy on me, Citi. Please have mercy on me, BB&T. Please have mercy on me, SunTrust. Please, pretty please, Wachovia, pretty please. Please have mercy on me. Can you roll it back for me? What do they do when they roll it back? They say, okay, so you missed 3 payments. Okay, according to your payment schedule, your mortgage is paid off in the year 2030. As a matter of fact, your last payment is due December the 1st of 2030, and you'll be paid off. But because you're late and we're going to forbear with you, we're going to do a forbearance. We're going to take those 3 late payments and we're going to roll it to the back of the loan. So instead of being out of debt with us on December the 1st of the year 2030, you will be out of debt with us, we'll say March the 1st of the year 2031. So they push it back to the end of your mortgage payments because they have now forbeared with you. They say, we're not going to file foreclosure proceedings. We're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and forbear with you. Even though you didn't forbear with your brother who owed you $20. You all but beat him over the head until we gave you your $20. You didn't forbear with him. But you want your bank to forbear with you and you owe them thousands. You owe them thousands. Your brother only owed you $20. But to him, you told him he was a deadbeat because he didn't pay you your $20. But you want your bank to forbear with you and you owe thousands. World debt is over 2.8 times world GDP. That number has been on a steady ascent. So the world is well past the point where additional debt buys growth greater than the debt. Most debt has funded consumption, which generates no economic return. Debt service was exacting its ever-increasing toll on a slowing global economy before the coronavirus made its appearance. Slowing global economy, underline the word before the coronavirus made its appearance. And let's not forget derivatives. Oh boy. All right, this is where, if you're a female in the audience, this is when you want to grab your man because this is a really scary movie. This is the scary part of the movie where Jason jumps out of the closet and shocks you because you didn't know he was hiding in the closet. So grab your man's hand because this is going to get really scary. And this is the dark part of the roller coaster ride where we go into the tunnel, the dark tunnel of love. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So go ahead and hold your man's hand because this is getting real scary. Because we're talking about derivatives, which is my world. We're going into my world now. We're going into the derivatives. We're going into my world. Y'all ready? The Bank of International Settlements puts the notional amount at 600 Say it with me. $640 trillion. I just passed out on the floor, so you have to give me a few minutes to resuscitate myself and get back into my chair. That's a conservative estimate, people. $640 trillion in debt is a conservative estimate. And because we know that interest compounds exponentially, it's probably 3 times that amount. Look at it. A quadrillion, or give or take a 2 or 3. All right. Others are much higher. As of last June of 2019, or over 7.2 times the world GDP. It's often claimed that the true picture is nowhere as worrisome as suggested by the notional amount, because many derivatives are offset by opposite positions. Netted out derivatives exposure is much less, more than 90% less. That's all well and good until major counterparties start failing, as they did in 2008 and 2009. Positions that were supposedly offset no longer are, and all hell breaks loose. The risk is then measured by the notional not to be netted total, the ones that's at least 7.2 times world GDP. Now, this is a mouthful. Let me break it down for you. See, when we're talking about derivatives, for every buyer, there's a seller. For every seller, there's a buyer. That's why the derivatives markets have been so smooth and so cool, so awesome for so many years. No one's ever been beat out of money that was owed by their broker until MF Global, John Corazine, before his crookedness got up in there. All right. And it just gave the market a whole black eye. The commodities market's got a real black eye from that. And now this crude oil fiasco. All right, folks, I'm about to say, I told you this was the scary part. I really didn't even want to have to bring this up, but you could make an argument right now, people, a scary argument, a frightening argument, that the derivatives markets are starting to break down. Starting to break down. It hurts my heart to say that. It's analogous to saying, it's analogous to the doctor calling you into the office to tell you that you have cancer. And you don't just have cancer. No, you have stage 4 cancer. Oh, and no, you don't just have a stage 4 cancer. You have the most aggressive kind of a stage 4 cancer. Oh, and by the way, your cancer is untreatable. Nothing works with your cancer. As a matter of fact, all contemporary methods of treatment actually speed up the progression of this aggressive form of cancer. Can you imagine hearing that from your doctor? Can you? Okay. That's what is being said in this paragraph. It's almost bringing tears to my eyes. I kid you not. Because I've been the number one proponent of derivatives. I got my start in derivatives. All right. My securities license was in derivatives. All right. That's my forte. That's what I do. I does this. And to hear that all of the rumors and stuff going back years and years, I'm sorry, decades now, it makes me feel bad. And it makes me feel foolish for even sticking up and sticking my neck out on this. You know, John Corazine, he really messed me up, man, because I was, letting people know just how the derivatives market was the only market on the planet that could claim that, it's been, for the most part, fraud proof. No one's been beaten out of their money. And then when John Corazine linked up with MF Global, and he robbed them for $1 billion. That just destroyed everything. The futures market could no longer say, yo, man, for the past 50 years, we've been scandal free. You know what I'm saying? But nah, the Hunt brothers thing was long behind us. When they tried to corner the silver market, that was long behind us, and we didn't have no issues. But then when Corazon did what he did, man, it really hurt my heart because I was no longer able to brag and say the derivatives markets are better than the equities markets as far as corruption. And back then there were investigator people writing, and they were writing some very alarming things about the derivatives market. They were really talking about some alarming things, and I had to smack it down. I said, that's that what you're saying doesn't even make sense because those mechanisms don't even work. They're not even real mechanisms. That's not how the CFTC works. That's not how the NFA works. All right. But then the argument had it wasn't about how they work. The argument was something up with the storage. There was something about the storage, some kind of conspiracy with storage, right? And the internet was a different place back then, so I really couldn't find no info on that. And I looked hard, I looked high and low, I couldn't find it. And then this chick, this super smart chick, man. Her name is Catherine Austin Fitz. Maybe you heard of her. She blew my world wide open when she came on talk shows and was talking about some insider things going on down at the CFTC, and she was naming names, and she was talking about fraud, and she was talking about conspiracy. And it just blew my whole world up because everything she was saying was documented. She had evidence and she had facts, and her facts were truths, and it just rocked my world. I was like, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, I know Ann Barnhart. Yeah. I saw her stuff too. Yeah, Ann broke some stuff down too. Yeah, you're right. Ann Barnhart. Yeah, Ann Barnhart and Catherine Austin Fitz. Them two chicks was telling all types of secrets. They was exposing all types of stuff. The only thing though, but Ann went off the deep rail though. When she right after she exposed what was going on, she went off the deep rail and started doing some other stuff. I won't get into that now, but you guys know what time it is. All right. So yeah. Then we had a situation that with the metals, precious metals, 2011, 2012 came, and I was like, this is nice, making all this money. The train ain't never gonna stop. It's gonna keep going. This train is special. It don't have no brakes, and we're going downhill really, really fast. We're just like the little piggies in the commercial going wee. Had our hands in the air going wee. And I was like, all right, this is what's up. And then the government came and blindsided us, punched us right in the grill. You know how you could be walking and talking to someone on either side of you, and you're not paying attention, you're not looking straight, you run right into a wall or a pole, and that really hurts. Well, that's what happened. I got punched in the face. Yeah, Tony, you know what I'm talking about. Sure enough. Yeah, I have to. Yeah. I don't know what happened with that. So anyway, that's what this is, a punch in the face. I was able to, maneuver a lot of that, and I was able to comb through a lot of things she was saying as far as how they were complicit in the financial crisis and stuff like that. But then everything was calm and cool for a while. We had all these laws that hit us. We couldn't trade the spot metals anymore, and they was claiming Volcker rules and all these other rules, like Glass-Steagall and Volcker, whatever. These dictatorial powers, they're telling you what you can do with your money. So I'm like, all right, whatever. We will get through this. It's not a big deal. We'll get through it. But then I remember something though. Now, I never agreed with my man on this. I never agreed with him on this, but he's my boy, you know. And that was my man Oscar Carboni. All right, he came out. He was doing his daily, thing that he does with his system, with his Omni thing. And he was like, it was his belief, and he was serious. I will never forget this video. He was like, man, I don't think anybody should be trading in the crude oil markets because of the political nature and the gangsterism of them. He didn't think that anyone should trade it. Now I disagree because I was making pretty good coin off of trading oil. So I didn't want to hear that. I wasn't trying to hear all that. Now, truth be told, he is my senior. He's older than me. I think he may be like 10 years older than me, maybe a little bit more than that. So he is a triple OG. I love him. He's a good brother. I never had a chance to meet him face to face, but he's a good brother. He knows what he's doing. He used to work down in the pits. He used to clear paper, commercial paper for people, and do his own trading. So he's definitely, somebody that I respect. Things like that. He's definitely a peer. But when he was talking about not trading oil, I was like, nah, man. I'm having fun over here. I'm like, you of all people know that the crude oil market moves like the S&P 500. I'm trying to get some of that paper, man. I'm trying to get that paper. But then, now I'm seeing what he was saying back then. I always knew the oil market was gangster and all that, but he was talking about some things. And now I'm seeing now what he was talking about. And this is hurting me to have to confess all this to you guys. The man was right, because look what's happening today in the crude oil commodities market, in the derivatives market. This is not right. I can see them taking the price down to zero, even though that is supposed to be technically impossible because of the mechanics and the way the commodities markets work. We got like 90% leverage in these markets. It's not supposed to happen. A commodity technically is never supposed to go to zero because it's a commodity. It can't be worth nothing. But they took it to negative 100. I haven't even seen stocks go negative. So how you going negative 100? Now, what they do with stocks, when penny stocks get like that, they don't use a negative sign. All right, they just use more digits to the right, like some of the German stocks and stuff that I've seen. It'll be the price will be 0.4 zeros, then 139,695, something like that. It'll look like a crypto. For real, it'll look like a crypto. They price it like that. So at least they could have at least priced the crude oil. They could have cryptoed it instead of taking it negative, putting a negative sign and then saying negative 100. They could have just cryptoed the thing at that point. And this is why I also say I believe that this is coming sooner rather than later. They're going to cryptotize the financial markets because that's the only way to keep them from going negative. You understand what I'm saying? It might not make a lot of sense to you. It's hard to try to put it to words, but it's better to cryptotize a market than to have a market have a negative sign in front of it. You following me? Because you're saying it's worth nothing. And technically speaking, there's no such thing as something being worth nothing because someone will always find value in something. You may say that's a rock, but to someone who is probably a blacksmith, he may say, nah, I will pay you $100 for that rock you found in your backyard. See what I'm saying? To you, it's a worthless piece of rock or concrete. But to maybe the blacksmith, that's the one piece of rock he's been looking for, and he needs it to finish whatever it was he was making. You see what I'm saying? So something that is a commodity is not worth zero. And so if you cryptalize things, it will help the overall markets. Is everyone tracking with me? That's why they took stocks from being fractions, because stocks were traded in fractions, folks. All right. And then they decimatized it. Everything's a decimal now. Okay. So, with that being said, we now have seen them take a commodity for the first time in history, in the history of the derivatives commodity markets. We went negative. which is not supposed to be able to happen because of the leverage and stuff involved. And because it's a commodity, commodities can't go to zero. So I believe now that when you put all these things in, these steps in here like that, I think that we have been witnessing the implosion or decline of our derivatives markets worldwide. And it's not just been a big one-time event like a volcanic explosion, but it's been a little bit here. It's like, a slow dripping faucet, a little bit here, a little bit there, losing grips, losing more control, losing, you know what I'm saying? And I can actually see that now. I can see that now. Now, here's the final part of this, and then we'll move on. For the longest time, people have been poo-pooing the COMEX. Their arguments was, hey, you got more, you're writing more paper than it is gold or silver in the ground. All right, so they were making that argument. And I had to come in and debunk that argument by saying, well, technically speaking, that's what the commodity markets were built for. All right, we are speculators. We provide liquidity to the market, and that's why the majority of these futures contracts are non-deliverable. Crude oil, unfortunately, is a deliverable contract. No wonder they could do that with that. They could play with that. But gold and silver, they have non-convertible contracts. They do still have the convertible contracts, but they also have the non-deliverable contracts that most people trade anyway. So I was like, this makes, from that perspective alone, this is how that mechanic works. But then I was like, but hold up though. Hold up. And so I've always been, throwing that down and saying that's stupid, blah, blah, blah. But then this article came out. I gotta divert from where we were. And trust me, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm gonna reel it all in. We're gonna bring this back. We're gonna bring this beat back. Okay. Titled, Something Unusual is Coming. After the gold and oil contract chaos, CME Group secures a $7 billion credit line in case of clearing member default. All right, I got to break this down for you. Just that heading, the header is packed. Okay. This is a devastating headline. CME is short for the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. All right. One of my favorite exchanges in the world. I know people that work there even to this day. That's where the S&P 500 futures contract is and all that stuff. Okay. Globex, all that stuff. CME, all day, every day. Why did they need a $7 billion credit line? And they say, quote unquote, in case of clearing member default. First of all, I know this is going to be boring for some of you, but this is going back to the Series 3 exam. We're talking about clearing member. Okay, so in the commodity space, you have your clearing merchant, and then you have your brokers under the umbrella of a clearing merchant. If you want to become a commodities broker, a brokerage, not a broker, but a brokerage, then you have to be under the umbrella of a clearing member. You got to be down for clearing member. There are different ways to get down for clearing member. You could be a 100% guaranteed broker where they backstop you financially if things get a little hairy. Or you could get the other term, I forget what that's called. That's when they don't back you, you backing yourself, which means you get to keep a little bit more of the cut of the commissions on all the trades. And the way that they deal with you, everything you do in the futures market is mark to market, even your accounting, and your clearing firm is always on top of you. They're always on your top. They're always on your neck about your balance and all that stuff and your liquidity and what you're doing. And if you're 100% guaranteed, they're going to really micromanage you even more. Okay, so to prevent these sort of things from happening in the futures market as well as in the equity market, you have rules and regs. One of those rules and regs is failure to supervise. All right, supervisors are told to supervise their subordinates. So you work at a firm, the president, the vice president is to be overseeing their principals. All right, principals control, the brokers. Okay, and you got supervisors and things of that nature. So it's a hierarchy. All right, and if you got a broker that is misbehaving, we call and you don't catch it or do something about it or discipline them, then when they are caught and whatever they're caught in, then you go down with them because they're going to hit you with a failure to supervise. Okay. Now, it should be noted that John Corazon and MF Global had been under the armpit of the NFA and the CFTC for years leading up to the $1 billion theft event. I have a video here on YouTube. I think it's a two-parter when I'm breaking that down, and I'm even showing you pictures. They had many, 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 many black marks where they were disciplined by the Chicago market. I'm sorry, by the CFTC and the NFA. They had to pay mad fines and fees and all types of stuff. But they really didn't do anything about them. They just kept them. They just, in a way, they just allowed them to keep going on. They paid a little fine or their fee, and then they keep it moving. And I think that the CFTC NFA was complicit in a way in doing that, because where's the failure to supervise? See what I'm saying? Anyway, something unusual is coming. First, we had unprecedented dysfunction in the global futures markets with dramatic paper and physical price divergences amid virus-inspired geographical shortages for deliverables. All right, so we had those geographically shortages for deliverables. I've never seen that before, said one gold trader who has been in the market for 30 plus years. Saxo Bank's head of commodity strategy, O. Hansen, observed that a lockdown is occurring in two biggest gold hubs in the world, New York and London, the two biggest gold hubs in the world. So many traders are working from home. This has caused a breakdown in the marketplace, he said. There is no price discovery in the market right now, he said. There is no price discovery in the market right now. There is no price discovery in the market right now. If you need to borrow gold in the OTC over the counter markets right now, you are going to pay a king's ransom. Then we had the even more stunning negative prices for front month WTI crude futures as prices converged to negative spot prices at expiration and delivery, thanks to a lack of storage and ETF driven illiquidity issues. Negative spot prices. Negative spot prices. That is another story in and of itself. How in the world do you get a negative spot price? I understand the futures, but the spot price? This sparked major losses for some very large market brokerages and clearinghouses, among them Interactive Brokers. Say it ain't so, IB. I recommend you for people that want to open up brokerages accounts. You're killing me. CNBC across the industry. Do you think there is going to be some really serious pain? Peter Fly. There is about another $500 million of losses that somebody is setting on, and I do not know who those folks are. Oh, gosh. So it is with great interest that we note that CME Group said its Chicago Mercantile Exchange subsidiary entered into an amended credit facility for a $7 billion revolving secured credit facility. As Bloomberg reports in a U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission filing, CME, it entered into an amendment to its 364-day multi-currency credit facility with Bank of America. Bank of America, the most notorious gangster bank on the planet. It would not surprise me to learn if the CIA was running it. As administrative agent, Citibank as collateral agent and collateral monitoring agent, and some of the banks under its existing facility. The amended facility is for a multi-currency revolving secured credit facility of $7 billion, which is eligible to be increased to $10 billion. Specifically, the filing says the new credit facility is intended to provide temporary liquidity to CME in the event of a clearing member default, a liquidity constraint, or depository default, or in the event of a delay in the payment systems utilized by CME. Of course, this is nothing to worry about, as we are sure the Fed has their back, right? Ladies and gentlemen, that was something I did not want to have to talk about. But that is serious and it has to be dealt with. We cannot ignore that. Now, it wouldn't be the first default because going back to our other point here, John Corzine, MF Global, don't forget they defaulted. MF Global, the whole MF company had a lot of umbrellas, but they were a major clearing firm also. All right. The impending financial and economic collapse as the debt and derivative daisy chain breaks in both obvious and inevitable. There will be no quick bounce back when we're paroled from our pandemic prisons. The world needs all the production it can get simply to pay debt service. But the global production shutdown and piles of new debt put us that much deeper in the hole. The ruling caste knows that debt and bailouts are parasitic, but politically connected individuals and corporations make the collapse that much worse. But that's part of the plan. In the ruling caste perfect world, there are two castes, theirs and everybody else. Call it the untouchables, or better yet, the deplorables, impoverished, dependent, and subservient. A thriving independent middle class, one of the capitalism's greatest creations, simply has no right to exist. It doesn't need a ruling caste, reason enough to hate it, and must be eliminated. The global depression will eliminate it, as well as many of its former members. That a slave society may not be much fun for the masters has seemingly not entered into ruling caste calculations. All right, you guys, people want to know what the end game is. We're now arriving at the end game. Please put on your seatbelts, return to your seats as we will begin our descent. All right, because we're landing at the airport of truth. The ruling caste has fine-tuned fear. It worked well with 9/11, but 19 years later, it's obvious there aren't terrorists under every bed. They couldn't get, it's funny, they couldn't get what they wanted from the global warming doomsday scenarios and garbage science. Their models kept yielding erroneous predictions, and they had to keep shoving the dire consequences farther into the future. The integrity of the research was severely compromised by committee science and so-called consensus conclusions, ad hoc and unexplained data adjustments, opacity where transparency was once required, and private communications that undercut public pronouncements. Global warning just hasn't lit any fires. All right. But tell the public they're at risk from an unseen virus, even if the risk of death is comparable to other viruses and is smaller for healthy people than risk we run every day. And there you have something. They'll let you confine them to their houses, close their businesses, eliminate their jobs, prevent contact and communication with other people, encourage them to spy on and report their neighbors, stop them from going to church and other gatherings, and mandate social distancing and mask wearing. That's what they got you doing. All right? Big Daddy, Pimp Daddy Mac got you out there on the stroll. And you didn't even realize you was out there strolling. Big Daddy got you out there. He done turned you out already. One thing global warming has taught the ruling caste, conforpaola, positions and prestige on the scientific cast, and you can get whatever science you want. Remember what I always tell you guys, if that briefcase is big enough, then they can buy whatever they want. But some people are holdouts and greedy. They say, man, get that little briefcase up out of here. That ain't going to do nothing for you with me, partner. They say, all right, I'll be right back. Let me go to my trunk. They come back with a book bag, a duffel bag. Got a duffel bag for you. You say, okay, now we getting somewhere. Now you got the duffel bag. I see you got that Gucci duffel bag. Yeah, I'm kind of digging that. It's full and heavy too, but it ain't heavy enough, partner. Come again. Come again, selector. Come again, selector. So then what do? They come back to you a third time and say, okay, we got you now. No, we got you. You be like, how you got me? They say, because you say the briefcase wasn't big enough. You say the backpack wasn't big enough. Well, guess what we got for you now? Then they hit you with that luggage, that big old luggage. All right, they got wheels on it because you can't lift it up because it's too heavy and it's packed. They had to get one of those extendo luggage joints. You've seen them where it has the built-in thing so that the luggage can extend so you can stuff even more into it. They hit you with that. And now the scientist says, all right, you got me now. This is what I'm talking about right here. We can do something with this. That's how they do it. They hit you with whatever container it's going to take. And if none of those containers work, then they say, okay, fine. The briefcase didn't work. All right. The backpack didn't work. The luggage didn't work. So now that only leaves us with one thing. They hit you with the smallest container of all because you guys are not privy to this. So I'm going to tell it to you, even though the powers that be don't want me to tell you this. If all those other containers fail, it's the smallest container that always works at the end. That small container is an iPhone. They slide the iPhone across the table to you and say, take a look at that. And it's a photo of your baby girl tied up in the basement. Oh, you're going to say what we want you to say or say bye-bye to baby. And that usually gets them to go out there and do the press conference, and they will parrot and puppeteer whatever you want them to parrot and puppeteer because little Annie's tied up in the basement. Capiche? All right, let's wrap this up. One thing global warming has taught the ruling caste is if you have enough money, you throw it at the situation, you'll get whatever you want. In that ruling caste perfect world, we grant them permission to execute us if the experts recommended it. They came on TV and said, we're going to have to shoot some of you. There are actual sheeple that will say, I volunteer. You can go ahead and shoot me first. All right, docility. They want you docile and weak. The docility lining up for the firing squad or the gas chamber. Who are we to argue with the experts, right? The coronavirus will fade. Not even within field goal range. Like football. Expect no embarrassments from the ruling caste or its experts. This is another giant step in their project to make the truth irrelevant. They found a special kind of fear by vastly inflating a health risk You can make people so afraid for their own safety that they're going to ignore skepticism. They're going to ignore pertinent questions. They're going to ignore contrary facts, and they're going to ignore any non-conforming science. They're going to ignore other obvious truths and their own imprisonment and ruin. All the predictions are now in place, and the ruling caste just has to make sure the next virus is more lethal than this one, but of course, not so lethal or resistant to vaccination that it poses a danger to the ruling caste. When you can't love, you hate. When you can't build, you destroy. When you're ignored, you scream. When you can't tell the truth, you lie. When you can't reason, you panic. When no one will follow you out of admiration or respect, you compel. When you can't live, you kill. As a general rule, the earlier you recognize someone is trying to kill you, the better off you'll be. All right. I hope you guys have gotten something out of today's live stream. It was mad super long, way longer than I would have wanted or liked it to be. But hey, sometimes we got to do what we got to do. All right. Now, what you need to do is look at these markets, because I kept the real-time tickers here up here moving for you. You can see that the market is moving in the opposite direction of where it was earlier. We were up, now we're negative in the Dow, negative in the S&P, negative in the Russell. But I anticipated this for the Russell. I actually made provisions for that Russell. If the intraday price inflection points are reached, I will be out of my long and into my short on the Russell. Yes, today is a stop and reverse day in the Russell, in case you weren't paying attention. All right, so I'm done, man. Y'all already know what it is. You know how I bring it to you each and every day. We had to kick some realness with you today. I had to give it to you live. I've been telling you there's so much going on in the news that it was getting hard for me to even get to a point to even do it. So I just said, forget it. Let's just cram a bunch of it into each live stream that we do, and that's just what I did. So we just cleaned house today. We dealt with a lot of different things, but it all comes back to this economy and to these markets. That's why I tell you, man, you got to come to PulseWaveTrading.com. You got to start learning to trade and get the money out of the market while you can, just in case one day we're not able to because they lock us out of it. That's all I've been saying to you, fam. All right, they're not good. It's not good enough for them to take your jobs. All right, they're going to take them jobs, but they want to keep you in perpetual poverty. All right, well, you have no way out. So they're trying to make you hate the markets by still putting out little conspiracies here and there. So don't fall victim to it. Come over here and break bread with us at PulseWaveTrading.com. Stop playing with me. You know what you need to do. Remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. I'll see the rest of you over in the trading room, and the others I'll see in today's end of day report. Peace. I'm out.